about Bethune statue rededication. I'm Corinne Davenport. Do we have permission to record this interview?
Yes.
Alrighty. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Clarrisa West-White.
And what brought you here today?
I am here with the entourage from Florida, from Bethune Cookman University. I am the university archivist and assistant professor.
Amazing. And how did you come to that position?
It's a long, winding road. I started at Bethune Cookman in 2014 in English, became the chair in 16, and then I migrated to the library to help with research and students, and then the position came open, and I was asked to be the archivist when the assistant archivist left to come to Howard. And so I've been doing that for about 2.5 years.
Fantastic. And why did you want to come here today, personally?
Personally, it's a way to just kind of relive and learn a lot more about, we call her Mother, well, her grandson / son called her Mother Mary. And so quite a few people have stories about how she called them to Bethune-Cookman, to Daytona Beach. I swear I don't remember applying, but I must have. So I just swear, I just really believe that she touches people and congregates and pulls and connects people today as if she's still around. And so I have the privilege of reading her letters and seeing her things and touching her dress and her shoes and all those, her passport. It's just very motivational and insightful to have such a leader that seemed very common. Like, she seemed very approachable, very charismatic, but she had to make a lot of sacrifices to do all the things she did. So I think this is just, it may have not, it's hot, so it may not be convenient, but I think she deserves, my inconvenience is certainly nothing compared to what she went through, so.
And working as an archivist in that position is such a cool spot.
It is.
What stands out while working there? What has kind of caught your attention? What's stuck with you so far?
I think the fact that she knew everyone. I mean, we have letters from everyone, and they're not always recognizable names because people don't always get the recognition they need while they're living, and definitely not when they pass. And so, I do a Google search, like, okay, well, who is this person? And you'll find out it was the director of this or the leader of this, and you're like, wow, she knew people across political chasms. I mean, people you would never put in the same building, let alone at the same dinner table. But she had a way of getting to the heart of things, to ask people tough questions. And, because I think the toughest question is asking people for money. And she did that regularly. I mean, there's a letter I am quite fond of. A particular donor in Jacksonville, Florida, was in a car accident. And so she wrote to her. She said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope you feel better. Thank you for your previous donations." In that last paragraph, she said, "And by the way, we still need that like $15 or whatever it was. So please send it when you can use, when you can." And I was like, even like she was a fundraiser and a power broker. I think before those terms could be applied to anyone, she was definitely the first in many avenues. And as a native Floridian, I always found it problematic that I did not know anything about her until I arrived as a professor in 2014. Although I've gone to public schools, my mom was a public school teacher, and she had the packets that you put around your classroom of famous African Americans, and she was there, but that was all I knew, that she had a school in Daytona Beach. It was started for girls, and that was it. And so I'm always saddened by the fact that Floridians don't know her.
Well, when you started learning more about her, all of a sudden, what kind of stood out to you most that you were like shocked you hadn't known before?
I didn't realize she gave so much of her health. Her health really, it was always an issue in many letters to close friends. It was, I just got out of the hospital, I just got out of surgery. And the fact that she was, having operations and surgeries in places that were not desegregated. And that she was going on conveyances that other Black people could not enter, I think her quick wit, there are many stories where people try to tell her she couldn't do something, and she'll say something like, "I know I can read." and then continue doing what she, could do. And people just didn't know what to make of her. But because she had famous friends, you weren't going to mistreat her when she could call the president. So she had a way of getting and maneuvering life and political bombs that I don't think people today even have. It just seemed like so much of what she did in her life was destined for her only.
And you said as a professor also you learned more about her. How did you implement what did you teach about if you taught about her in your classes and everything like that? How did you kind of integrate her into your curriculum?
So usually I would just ask, the first day of class was always for me, the easiest way to get students. And I would just say, what brought you here? And very few would say her. They would say, I'm a legacy. And so I was like, oh, so you know the story of Mary McLeod Bethune? And they're like, no, not really. I know her house is here. But it was just making sure they understood that she gave a lot. And it could be about anything, because there are very few conversations that you can have and not mention her. I can weave in a Mary story, accomplishment in almost any setting. Yeah, she was. Yeah, I think I ran across a letter where she was the manager for Marian Anderson wanted her to influence Marian Anderson to do something, and he wrote to her to say, "Could you please have her do this?" I mean, it's just an amazing journey for an amazing woman. Yeah.
And what do you see a lot of research requests from that collection? What do
oh my goodness,
want to learn more about? That kind of
all over the place. So we had a student come from Paris for a week. She was doing. She was talking about Brown, Dr. Brown. I can't remember. Oh, that's gonna bother me. And Dr. Bethune. So she was doing a comparison of African American women who started schools. Last week, we had some who were looking at education, her education slant, her leanings. They were looking at women voting rights, her suffrage involvement, economics, political influence. Most want to see her speeches, and they're really somewhat surprised by some of her, the places she gave, speeches to, and her topics, because a lot of her topics are fast forward to today, we still see their relevance. Like one letter she wrote to the governor of Florida about convict labor, about using these black women to dig a hole for the light poles or something, and she was like, you cannot do this. And so again, she just seemed to have been, we tell the story that she was born with a veil and that she had maybe just some extra intuition, but that seems to, you could probably support that. Yeah.
Is there anything, you obviously have a deeper understanding than some people of the collection, is there anything you wish people requested more? The fundraising letter is amazing.
Yeah. Probably more about her, when VP Harris mentioned her in her acceptance speech. We don't get too many people who are trying to make that connection. Why would she say that? And I think that would be a great research question. What is it that she did to get Harris in that White House? And for people to kind of chronicle that. Well, we get she started this. She started, every other year we find another organization she started. It may not still be in existence, so that's why it's sometimes hard to trace. But we find that she started organizations after organizations. She got awards that, they're no longer given, but and so those are some of the things that I wish people would kind of come and kind of unearth and just re-educate the population about, because I'm biased, so it's it would be hard for me to sometimes do it, but I think people in their respective disciplines and research avenues, if they could come and just kind of open up some of what we have to the public and to their colleagues, I think would make a really good, would just kind of further her a little further along the way. Yeah.
And you mentioned connections you can see between things she was talking about in her letters and everything and things that are still problems today.
Yeah.
What kind of stands out to you on that front of issues she confronted that we are still confronting to this day?
Oh my goodness. the in the unequal treatment of women in every aspect of our existence. I think she used her life to show that women can be professional and familial, but she still seemed very troubled that women, especially black women, did not get the credit they deserve, that they were not excelling the way she knew they could. And I'm sure she would still, there's a part of her where I think she'll go like, yes, the NCNW is still around, but it's around because African American women and women in general are still not where they should be. And I think for that, I think she'll be still upset. And that seems to be one of the things that I think she pushed for that we're still pushing for.
And do you have anything in your life, in your work, anything like that she inspires you to do?
Oh my goodness. She wore a lot of hats. And and so we say at Bethune Cookman that if you're going to work here, you're gonna have to wear a lot of hats. It's a small institution still, but I'm also connected to the athletics on our campus. And I came across a letter where she wrote to the United Methodist Church asking for two things. Really, it was one thing that would lead to the second thing. And she wanted the university to go back to all female, and she wanted to get rid of athletics because she saw it draining the budget. And so, that, because I attend the NCAA meetings and stuff, that is still a very recent, current, everyday conversation at many institutions across this country about the rising cost of sports and what you get and give up when you have it. And the fact that she wanted to send the boys back. I think, and part of me goes like, yeah, I think, wow, that would have been so interesting to have another Spelman-esque, a Bethune school for just girls, but they said we'll get to you and never did. Yeah. But she inspires me daily. It's just really hard. Her grave is only probably a minute walk from my office, and so when things don't seem to go right, I could just kind of pass by. I don't go visit the grave like some people do. Some people go and meditate with her. I don't know, but I still feel her presence. It's very uncanny sometimes. I still can kind of feel her, see her in things. And when I see students come, fall, the freshmen come, I'm going these are her people. Yeah.
Are there any stories that you've heard about, what drew people to the school or what they've experienced there along those lines?
The Wildcat Nation is diverse, but one thing they all agree on is that the experience they gained there was top notch, and they would not trade it for any other. They see her as their maternal grandmother, mother. She filled in the gaps for them as students, and they tell some mystical stories that we're like, she did not climb the tree to ring the bell. But they'll say she used to climb the tree to ring the bell for students to go to class. No. Does she look like she would do that? No, she didn't do that. But, we also try to let them know that the campus they stand on, although it was the city dump, was also the farm, right? Because she didn't have funds. So they had to raise their crops to eat. They had to feed the chicken if they wanted chicken. And so part of that is being industrial and self-supporting and self-sustaining. You can't wait on everyone to come and give it to you. You got to do some work. And if people see that you are serious and that you work hard, then they're more likely to help. And I think that's one of the ways she was able to get the type of funding she did receive from everyone, the Rockefellers, okay, I just went blank. But the Gambles, the Whites, she did an awesome job of fundraising. I wish she had written a book about it.
And what do you hope the legacy of the school is, and what you can get out of the legacy of your collection can continue to hold and everything?
I think I strongly believe the legacy of the institution and her collection and her life will continue to beckon people to the institution. And that I'm always just dumbfounded when I go places and people have heard of her from when they were in kindergarten because they had a teacher who knew the importance of her. So I'm just always hopeful and believe that there are those good teachers out there who are doing what they should do, that they should include her, that they know her, that teaching her is equivalent to teaching Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King. Every time I see those T-shirts, they'll list all the great people, and I don't see Mary McLeod Bethune. I get so upset because I'm like, you can't have some of these people here because they had to have worked in the same type of issues, the same types of concerns. So why is it that we favor these three, but she's not included? And I think that's something that needs to be corrected as soon as possible. But I think her legacy will eventually correct that. And I think the next generation of scholars and educators and politicians and advocates will spread her name and her cause, because it is, a worthwhile cause to see everyone achieve. Because she doesn't spend a lot of time in some of her writings talking about African Americans. She doesn't, of course, but there's a real strong undercurrent of, if we can get this done for us, how much better the whole world will be. And so that notion of being together and not just, pockets of prosperity. She wanted everyone to prosper, whether they even liked her or not, which I always find just so thoughtful. Because that is very hard to wish enemies well. Yeah.